Ladies and gentlemen, there comes a time in every person's life when the road ahead seems dark, when hope feels distant, and when everything we once believed in starts to waver. But in those moments when all seems lost, there is one thing we must hold on to: faith. Faith is not just a belief in something greater than ourselves. It is the light that guides us through the storm, the strength that lifts us when we fall, and the hope that fuels our journey when the path is unclear. When life throws its harshest challenges at us, it's often not our physical strength or intelligence that gets us through. It is the quiet, invisible power of faith. Faith is the unseen force that enables us to rise from the ashes when everything around us has crumbled. It gives us the ability to withstand emotional storms, financial losses, personal betrayals, and moments of deep sorrow. While logic may tell us to give up and emotions may push us toward despair, faith speaks a different language. It whispers hope when all we hear is fear. It urges us to keep going even when we can see the road ahead. Faith doesn't remove the pain, but it gives meaning to the suffering, reminding us that this too shall pass. When people find themselves in the middle of hardship, they often feel alone, misunderstood, or defeated. In such moments, faith acts as a companion in solitude. It is the comforting voice within that says, "You will survive this." Faith creates a space within us where strength can grow quietly and steadily. We begin to tap into a deeper reservoir of resilience, a strength that's not visible on the outside, but is deeply rooted on the inside. This inner strength can carry us through days of uncertainty, sleepless nights, and moments when giving up seems like the only option. Faith fuels this strength by reminding us of our worth, our purpose, and our potential to overcome. Many times, our external world offers no solutions. Doctors may say there is nothing more they can do. Banks may close their doors. Friends may walk away. But faith tells us that there is still a way. It encourages us to look within, to find something greater than circumstances, something powerful enough to hold us together when everything else is falling apart. This strength, born of faith, does not require immediate results. It only requires belief that something good is still possible. Faith keeps the heart beating when dreams feel dead. It keeps the soul alive when reality is harsh. Through this process, faith becomes our greatest ally in surviving life's darkest chapters. What makes faith so powerful is that it doesn't deny the existence of suffering. It simply refuses to be defeated by it. Faith acknowledges pain but chooses courage. It sees fear but chooses hope. It knows the hardship but still believes in healing. This is the kind of strength that cannot be bought, borrowed, or inherited. It can only be developed through experience, through walking through the fire and learning that you can still stand. The strength that comes from faith is not loud, flashy, or boastful. It's quiet, steady, and unshakable. It's the type of strength that carries people from breakdown to breakthrough, from hopelessness to recovery, and from weakness to power. In life, one of the greatest challenges we face is learning to trust the process, especially when we do not fully understand where it is leading us. To Jenna, It does not always arrive when we want them. And sometimes things do not make sense until we turn them. In terms do not hint, trust. Well, life is not always clear-cut. The answers we seek. Faith allows us to move forward even when clarity is missing. It reminds us that just because we don't see the full picture now, doesn't mean that it isn't coming together perfectly in the background. There are moments when we question every decision we've made and wonder whether we're headed in the right direction. These doubts creep in when results are delayed, when failures pile up, or when we feel stuck in a cycle with no apparent progress. It is precisely in these moments that faith becomes crucial. Faith shifts our focus from fear to belief, from panic to patience. It allows us to surrender the need to control every outcome and instead rest in the knowledge that the universe or a higher power has not abandoned us. The journey may be winding and the steps may be slow, but faith teaches us that every step, no matter how small or difficult, is meaningful. What's extraordinary about faith is that it operates beyond logic. While our rational mind seeks proof and guarantees, faith operates in the realm of possibilities. It gives us the courage to continue investing in dreams, relationships, or efforts that don't yield instant results. Faith allows us to plant seeds without knowing exactly when they will bloom. This belief in future fruit, despite a barren present, transforms our experience. We stop fixating on outcomes and begin appreciating the process. Faith teaches us to find value in every stage of the journey. The waiting, the struggling, the learning, and even the failing. Because we start to believe that all of it is shaping us for something greater. Moreover, trusting the journey with faith allows us to let go of comparisons and self-doubt. When we have faith, we stop measuring our path against others. We begin to understand that our timeline is unique, our lessons are personalized, and our growth cannot be rushed. This sense of trust brings peace. It helps us focus on our own lane, our own purpose, and our own rhythm. Faith assures us that even when things don't go according to plan, they are still falling into place, according to something bigger than us. With this mindset, the journey no longer feels like a burden. It becomes a meaningful adventure, filled with lessons, growth, and silent transformations. When we study the lives of great individuals, be they historical leaders, inventors, artists, or social reformers, one pattern becomes clear. They all experience failure, rejection, and pain. Their paths were not smooth or effortless. In fact, many of them faced repeated disappointments that would have broken the average person. But what separated them from others was not their talent or privilege. It was their ability to hold on to faith in the face of adversity. They believed in their purpose and their dreams, even when nobody else did. This unwavering belief gave them the inner strength to keep going when everything seemed to be working against them. Their faith became their compass in the darkest of times. Consider the stories of figures like Thomas Edison, who failed thousands of times before inventing the light bulb, or J.K. Rowling, who faced numerous rejections before publishing the Harry Potter series. These are not just tales of perseverance, but powerful illustrations of faith. They didn't have any assurance that success would come, but they believed in the possibility. That belief gave their efforts meaning and sustained them through long periods of uncertainty. They didn't allow failure to define them. Instead, they used it as a stepping stone to rise higher. Faith was not their backup plan. It was the driving force that kept them grounded and focused when the world said no. It's important to remember that these individuals were human just like the rest of us. They had moments of doubt, fear, and exhaustion. But even in those moments, they chose to lean on faith rather than give in to despair. They had a vision for what could be, and they trusted that if they kept showing up, putting in the work, and staying true to their calling, the breakthrough would come. This mindset wasn't based on external signs or instant validation. It was built on the quiet confidence that their efforts were not in vain. They found purpose in the process and refused to be defined by temporary setbacks. Their journeys serve as powerful reminders that setbacks are not the end of the road. They are often the beginning of something extraordinary. Faith transforms failure from a final defeat into a learning opportunity. When we look at great people, we don't admire them for a life without struggle. We admire how they responded to struggle. Their lives teach us that it's possible to stumble again and again and still succeed, so long as we don't lose faith. Holding on to belief, even in the absence of immediate results, is what allows greatness to emerge from ordinary people. Their stories invite us to adopt the same resilience, the same patience, and the same depth of faith. Life is a journey marked by both triumphs and trials, and it is often through the latter that we experience the most profound growth. Obstacles are not simply roadblocks designed to stop our progress. They are essential components of the path that molds us into stronger, wiser, and more resilient individuals. While it is natural to resist difficulties or wish them away, faith encourages us to look deeper and recognize the hidden purpose within them. Every setback, every hardship, and every delay carries a lesson that contributes to our development. Growth does not occur in ease and comfort. It is the product of enduring challenges with courage and commitment. Without obstacles, we would never be pushed to discover our full potential. When we encounter difficulties, our immediate reaction is often frustration or disappointment. We ask, "Why is this happening to me?" Or, "What did I do to deserve this?" But faith helps us reframe these experiences and view them not as punishments but as invitations to evolve. Obstacles force us to stretch beyond our limits, to rethink our strategies, and to strengthen our character. They test our patience, reveal our weaknesses, and challenge our persistence. In doing so, they refine us. Much like a diamond is formed under pressure, our inner strength and clarity are revealed through our ability to face adversity. We may not enjoy the process, but we eventually come to appreciate what it produces within us. Furthermore, obstacles teach us humility and empathy. When everything is going well, we might become self-assured or disconnected from the struggles of others. But facing our own hardships reminds us that everyone is carrying a burden. These experiences make us more compassionate, more grounded, and more understanding. Through faith, we begin to realize that our trials are not just about personal growth. They are about preparing us to serve, support, and uplift others. When we overcome something painful, we are better equipped to guide someone else through similar pain. Our wounds, once healed, become sources of wisdom and inspiration. Thus, obstacles not only shape us, but also expand our capacity to help others. In hindsight, many people can point to a difficult period in their lives and say, "That's when I changed for the better." At the time, it may have felt unbearable, but looking back, they recognize it as a turning point. This is the power of faith during hard times. It helps us hold on long enough to see the transformation take place. We come out on the other side with new insights, greater strength, and a deeper understanding of who we are and what we are capable of. Obstacles, far from being signs of failure, are often indicators that we are growing and moving forward. They challenge us to rise to a higher version of ourselves, one that could only be formed through the fire of difficulty. There are moments in life when everything we thought we understood begins to fall apart. Plans fail unexpectedly, relationships end without warning, health deteriorates, or a sudden crisis throws everything into chaos. In such moments, logic alone cannot provide comfort, and reasoning often fails to explain why things are happening the way they are. This is where faith becomes not just helpful but essential. Faith steps in when the mind is overwhelmed and the heart is broken. It allows us to keep breathing, moving, and hoping, even when we don't have all the answers. In times when life is most confusing, faith offers an inner compass that points us toward peace amidst uncertainty. When the path ahead is unclear and all external signs seem discouraging, faith gives us the ability to continue without full visibility. Trust that things are unfolding in ways we cannot yet comprehend. Trust that we are not forgotten even when we feel invisible. Trust that this moment of chaos is not the end of the story. It's in this trust that faith becomes more than belief. It becomes a lifeline. These seasons of confusion can often feel like a test. Not necessarily a test of our strength, but of our willingness to surrender control. We often think we must solve every problem, fix every situation, or understand every detail. But faith teaches us that it's okay not to have control over everything. It's okay not to have all the answers. There is wisdom in learning to sit with uncertainty and still believe that things are working in our favor. Sometimes the breakthrough happens not when we figure things out, but when we stop trying to force the outcome and simply trust the timing of life. Faith encourages us to rest in the unknown, believing that clarity will come in due time. More importantly, faith in confusing times helps us preserve our inner peace. When the world feels like it's spinning out of control, faith anchors us. It reminds us that even when we don't understand what's happening around us, we can still choose how we respond within. We can choose patience over panic, hope over despair, and gratitude over fear. In doing so, we protect our emotional and mental well-being. Faith becomes the stabilizing force that holds us steady until understanding returns. It may not offer instant solutions, but it grants us something far more powerful: the courage to move forward when we cannot see the way. Faith is often the invisible force that keeps people going when everything else is urging them to quit. It serves as the emotional and spiritual engine that fuels perseverance, especially in times of hardship. When we begin to lose that faith, And whether it's faith in ourselves, in our goals, or in a higher purpose, we start to feel disconnected from hope. Without faith, challenges seem heavier, failures feel final, and the road ahead looks impossible to travel. The inner belief that once encouraged us to keep pushing forward fades. And in its absence, giving up begins to look like the only reasonable option. Faith is not just a comfort, it is a necessity for endurance. Many people don't fail because they lack talent or opportunity. They fail because they give up too soon. And most people give up not because the task was impossible, but because they lost the faith that it could be done. The absence of faith magnifies doubts and fears. When faith is no longer present to counterbalance negativity, every small setback starts to feel like proof that success is out of reach. Without faith, the mind becomes a breeding ground for thoughts like, I'll never make it, or this was a waste of time. These thoughts become louder, more persuasive, and eventually paralyze any desire to keep moving forward. What makes losing faith so dangerous is that it doesn't usually happen all at once. It slips away gradually. One disappointment after another chips away at our belief, until one day we wake up feeling completely disconnected from our original purpose. This slow erosion is subtle, but devastating. It often goes unnoticed until the moment we find ourselves emotionally exhausted, spiritually empty, and no longer invested in the things that once mattered deeply to us. This is why maintaining faith is not a passive act. It requires intentional effort. It must be nourished through reflection, encouragement, and self-belief, especially when circumstances try to convince us otherwise. The power of faith lies in its ability to help us see beyond the present moment. When faith is strong, we recognize that failure is not the opposite of success. It is part of the journey toward it. We begin to view obstacles not as dead ends, but as opportunities to grow and adapt. Losing faith removes this perspective and replaces it with fear, hopelessness, and resignation. It disconnects us from the bigger picture and keeps us focused only on what's going wrong. But when we guard our faith, even in the smallest of ways, we protect ourselves from surrendering too soon. We retain the ability to dream, to hope, and to rise again, no matter how many times we fall. True faith is not something that can be handed to us by someone else. It is a deeply personal and internal force that must be cultivated from within. While external sources such as mentors, books, spiritual leaders, or family can inspire us, the actual strength of our faith must be built by our own choices, thoughts, and experiences. It is not something that can be manufactured overnight. It grows over time, nurtured by reflection, tested by adversity. Faith comes from the quiet conviction that no matter what happens around us, we will endure, we will adapt, and we will find a way forward. This kind of belief cannot be borrowed. It must be lived. The most powerful faith emerges, not when everything is going well, but when we are challenged, uncertain, or broken. During these times, we are forced to look inward and discover a resilience we didn't know existed. This is where faith is forged, not in comfort but in discomfort, not in certainty but in doubt. When we feel isolated or overwhelmed, we can either crumble under pressure or choose to search within ourselves for strength. This internal dialogue, this decision to believe in the unseen and trust in something greater, is what turns fragile hope into unshakable faith. It's a choice we make repeatedly, especially when life gives us every reason to give up. Unlike external motivation, which can fade with time or circumstances, inner faith remains constant when it is truly developed. It becomes a steady anchor amidst life's emotional turbulence. Even when others do not believe in us, or when circumstances seem completely against us, our internal faith gives us the power to keep moving forward. This is why people with strong internal faith often appear calm in the face of chaos. They are not relying on the world to reassure them. They are grounded in their own convictions. They have built a foundation so deep that it does not crack under pressure. That kind of confidence and peace can only be found from within. Developing inner faith requires intentional effort. It means taking time to understand ourselves, to recognize our values, to listen to our inner voice, and to connect with our personal truth. It involves silence, self-honesty, and a willingness to grow. Life will always test us, but when our faith is self-sustained, we are not easily shaken. We begin to walk through life with more clarity and less fear, knowing that our foundation is not built on external validation, but on internal assurance. In this way, faith becomes more than just belief. It becomes part of our identity, woven into the very fabric of who we are and how we navigate the world. The journey of life remember feels heavy when the world feels heavy. When the world feels heavy, choose to believe. When the moments when you feel like giving up, that your greatest breakthrough is just around the corner. Keep going, keep believing, and most of all, don't lose faith, for it is the light that will guide you through even your darkest hour.